Welcome back to another episode of Time Out with Kyseé. This is the Conversations with Kyseé portion. And we have an extraordinary guest whose story is nothing short of inspiring. He's hailing from Neptune, New Jersey. He's a dedicated father of 6. Yes, that includes 2 sets of twins. A powerhouse in the world of finance. He's a seasoned executive who understands the game of money like few others. But that's not all. He's also the prolific author of 61 books and the visionary founder of Community, a movement dedicated to uplifting and empowering communities. Please welcome to the show the unstoppable Nasir. And let's get you some. Welcome to Time Out. Welcome to Time Out. We appreciate you being here. You know, we do a lot of conversing, and I was like, listen, I need to have you here because, when we talk, you have all those books. You have a wealth of information that you don't mind sharing with the culture. And, my whole platform here is dedicated to uplifting the culture, making things a little uncomfortable for us, and just opening our minds to new things. Or not so new things, but old things that need to be reintroduced, so to speak.
I like that.
So, yes, right? So, we brought you here today because we want to know about what you have to say on the current climate. And the first thing I said to you was, you said you need for the topic to be, we are not okay.
We are not okay.
We are not okay. So before we get into we are not okay, I gave my interlude of you. Just give us real brief. Tell us who Nasir is, where Nasir originated from, so on and so forth. Where is Nasir your government name?
Yeah, Nasir is not my government name. Nasir is my chosen name. So first and foremost, I want to say Hetepu to the family out there who's listening to the podcast. You'll notice that I use African words in speech to connect with the family. And Hotepu just means satisfaction. I'm satisfied that you are all here to join us. And it's still morning, so I can also greet people with the phrase Baka Nefer, which means that the rising of the sun or the morning is great.
Okay, so real fast, before we get into anything else, people love to ride me for saying grand rising. People, are we biscuits? Why are you saying what? How do you feel about grand rising? And to you, to your knowledge, where does that come from?
Well, it's actually a term that the ancient Egyptians would use to greet. There's several greetings, and that is one greeting. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the Medu Neter, which the Greeks referred to as hieroglyphs, or sacred or holy writings. But in the Medu Neter, there you'll see the term Baka Nefer.
Okay.
And so it's something, this is one of these terms that we've been saying and doing for actually thousands of years without recognizing that that's what we've been doing. So we're just reconnecting to our ancestral speech.
I love that. So the first time I heard it, it was years ago, but I want to say I was watching one of the slave shows, and they were saying that they don't say we don't want to say good morning because in the morning, once the slave masters had the slaves down and that hole all night, the first thing they would see is the sun. And anyway, good morning, and there's nothing good about that.
Yeah, the day.
There's nothing good about that. Or also, it's not when we are waking up. There's nothing to be mourned. We are grand. We are the grandest rising. Like I'm not gonna look at Sunny and say good morning. I'm looking at Sunny and say grand rising, because that is the grandest of rising. So okay, we went off to the set to the left
Yeah,
to the set.
yeah. I understand historical reference and, based on what has happened to some of our ancestors, that the every morning wasn't a good morning, right? When the sun rose, we were actually um, in in disarray and had a lot of angst about the day ahead of us because we didn't know what was coming. But I just want to go back to the subtitle of today's show,
Yeah, go back.
which is, you know, um, African people before the transatlantic slave trade and um, pre-colonial Black Africa. That's where I like to focus a lot of my energy and time. And so that's what the focus is on as part of today's discussion with the family. But when we say, good morning, it's really an affirmation for how we want our morning to be going forward, right?
Yes.
We have to understand the past, but more importantly, we understand that past with creating and charting a new future going forward. So I will continue to say, Baka Nefer.
Touche. And I'll continue to say grand rising.
It's what we make of the day, right?
Absolutely. I
We're
love
going to
that.
make it a great day.
We are. Absolutely. It's really, and it's all really how what your intention is when you wake up. What is your intention? I talked about intentions earlier. Intentions stay focused on what the goal is. All right, so let's go ahead and hop right into this topic situations, this topic of that we need to talk about. What inspired you to explore and discuss pre-colonial Black Africa before the transatlantic slave trade?
Yeah, so thank you, Kyseé. So I will say that, in my younger years, I'd say around high school, I graduated from high school back in 89, so 89 Tech 9 to all of y'all out there. Um,
Way
but
before me, I'm playing.
when I was in, high school, back when they had the song Stop the Violence, it kind of changed the mindset. And so I was searching for myself, um, and I used the platform of religion initially. And I don't today. I mean, I will engage in discussions, but I don't have a religious orientation per se. But I do have a African worldview and
Okay.
outlook on the world. So
Okay.
back then, I was looking for religion and understanding where do we come from. Most people
I think
have
our
to,
year was
you
very
know,
well.
they ask those questions. Where do we come from? What languages did we speak in the beginning? Where were we? Who
Yeah.
were we? Yeah.
It's so funny you said that, because this morning on my episode I said, when we were in school, it was understood that our time started at slavery.
Yeah,
It wasn't
that's why we got to
over.
zero in on pre-colonial, right? Before we were
Absolutely.
influenced by European, or they call Western society. But um, we have a great, rich history that religion could not satisfy. So, I grew up in several religious denominations, everything from Seventh-day Adventist to Baptist, and some non-denominational stuff. But when I went to college, I went to Virginia State University.
Okay.
Big up to VSU,
One time for
Trojans,
VS2, for VSU we got.
VSU. Um,
Oh, I'm
but at
sorry.
VSU, being in campus life, you engage in a lot of discussions outside of the classroom. And so, in search of finding myself, I got exposed to, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Louis Farrakhan, and then I studied, under Dr. York, to say the least. He was my enlightener, where I started to continue down the religious path and understanding, but became a Muslim. I learned, in high school, I learned Spanish. I had Spanish people in the hood from Eatontown that I grew up with. I knew a little bit of Spanish. And then I finished high school in Virginia,
Oh,
where I
okay.
learned a little bit of French. And so, becoming a Muslim, I ended up learning Arabic. I learned Hebrew. I learned Greek in order to put myself in the mindset of the writers of the scripture. Right, wrong, and indifferent. I started to see, similarities between, what Hebrews were saying and what Muslims were saying. It's really, when you get into it linguistically, um, you know, Muslims may say salam, but in Hebrew they say shalom, right? And so there's so many words, between the two languages. They're really more dialects of the same origin as opposed to
Right.
two
Yeah.
separate, distinct languages. And so from there, um, I went on to continue to start asking questions of religion. And, back when I think I was a freshman in college, I read the Bible cover to cover while being a security guard
Oh,
on a
wow.
movie set. And I started to write down a whole notepad full of questions, from reading, many hours a day. And I took him back to mom's minister, and he
Your
said,
mom's a minister?
no, my mom's minister,
Oh, your mom. Okay.
you know. And I would ask him questions, and, he would say things like, well, it's not meant for you to know that. And I'm like, well, why did God put it in the book if we wasn't supposed to know
Yes.
that? But anyway, it was apparent to me that he had not read the very scripture that he was promoting. And so that was a big turnoff. I continued to orient myself in language to answer fundamental questions. And then at the very end, Kyseé, I was one of these folks who were, caught up in extraterrestrials and
What do you
different
mean caught up?
planets.
You don't think this you
I
don't think
didn't,
that they
I didn't say that there's not life.
Okay.
Life is more than likely abundant in the universe. But the way that we have portrayed it is probably not
Oh
accurate
yeah.
at all. And
I absolutely
so
agree that they do that so we can stay scared.
as soon as I heard stuff like the aliens and extraterrestrials built the pyramids and were writing the hieroglyphics, I really wanted to know about ancient Egypt. And I think that focusing on ancient Egypt as part of understanding pre-colonial Black Africa is absolutely essential. I just want to clarify for the viewers and listeners, I am not an Egyptomaniac in any way, shape, or form. Even though I'm wearing a hoodie of Haru, but you
I love that.
we know that when we look at Western society, they orient themselves in the works of the Greeks, in the work of the Romans, who had great civilizations that are not, you can't make light of their achievements.
No,
But
right.
they were inspired by a great African civilization. And if I'll say it's one of the greatest civilizations that ever existed, which lasted, you're talking about civilization, it lasted about 4,000 years.
Is this
So,
the benign no, okay, never mind. Go ahead. That's a whole nother topic.
yeah, so So the Europeans and Western civilizations of today orient themselves in Greek and Roman uh, uh, classical, I'll call it classical civilization. However, they were influenced, both of those civilizations, by the Egyptian. We call it the Kemetiu, or some people say Kemetic society. Kemet is the name that the Egyptians called their land, the Black Land. But it's important that us as Africans, whether you're South African or you're from Mali or you're from Kenya or you're from Sudan or Nigeria, that one of the things that inspired in what they looked at as a classical civilization was the Egyptian civilization. And no civilization on the planet has lasted as long as that civilization. And another reason why it is so important is from a literary standpoint, there's more written in the about the Egyptians and their history and how they lived their life by the Egyptians, right? And so,
By the
um,
Egyptians.
yeah, so this is a great show. This is an excellent show today that I'm appearing on because we have to let our people know that we don't have to blacken everything up, right?
It
We
is.
we we have enough culture and enough literary culture where we don't have to make up stuff.
Well, I don't ever think we make up stuff. I think it's people trying to whitewash everything other than we trying to make everything black.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's
well, I
be
mean
clear.
that's true. I don't want to
Let's be
keep
clear.
score because
You don't
let
have
me
to. They
just
try to take everything from us. They try to claim everything that we have done. It is written everywhere.
yeah, I want to share something with you if you wouldn't
Okay.
mind, right?
Absolutely not. Go right ahead.
I just want to share a page from one of my works, right? I'll tee up for the family. So when we talk about, some of the things that came from, that part of the world. Let's see. Here we go. Trying to hopefully. It
Uh
did it
oh.
again. No, we'll get through it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
We'll
well, now
recover
we know
quickly,
what the
right?
situation is now.
So can you see this slide?
Yep. I can see it perfectly fine.
Okay. All right. So we have enough achievements where we don't really have to, make up stuff. But, the things that originate, oops, it's trying to get away from me, in this part of the world is agriculture, right? And the cultivation of land, the domestication of animals starts in the Nile Valley. The concept of spirituality itself, and I didn't say religion, but if you want to say religion, fine. But spirituality and consciousness, awareness of yourself relative to the rest of the planet and the rest of the universe. Religion, and when I say religion, I mean the salvation of the soul. We think the salvation of the soul is something that starts with Christianity. But, we have works. You look at the judgment scene from ancient Kemet, and you can clearly see that they had rites and rituals that
Do
were.
you have a picture of that?
I do. I
Yeah.
will bring it up in just a minute. Okay.
Yes.
I will definitely.
Guys, if you want to be able to see what he's putting up right now, instead of waiting for me to upload this, you'll have to click on the link. And unfortunately, you will have to go on Facebook to see the link. Or Time Out with Kyseé and Rodney. You can come on there on YouTube right now. Time Out with Kyseé and Rodney. You can watch this in action right now. Give me 1 second. Hey, give me 1 second.
Okay. So
Oh,
I'll continue while you
you go
go,
ahead, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and step out for a second and handle some
okay,
business. All
and
right.
just let me know when you're back.
All right.
Okay. So one of the other things is the concept of mathematics, whether it's counting, or different forms of arithmetic. I like to play, wordplay, mathematics. Um, I'll touch on this a little bit more in detail, but, the technology of writing, we call it the divine speech, the Medu Nature, but the technology of writing itself is something that was founded in the Nile Valley, and the Egyptians have works as early as about 3200, 3300 BCE. For starters, we have science. Whether it's chemistry or philosophy, a lot of the sciences actually originate in ancient Kemet or the Nile Valley. The concept of using medicinal practice, whether it's plants or plants with divine speech, resuscitation of words of power, we call Heka, originates there. Building monuments in pyramid structures, erecting temples, electricity, metallurgy, the concept of royalty or a monarchy system. We had the pharaonic system. In pre-dynastic Egypt, you had the Nubians who had a pharaonic system before the Egyptians. And then you have the educational system, and whether it's rhetoric, arithmetic, art, and so forth. We had the concept of a degree is a learning system from the Egyptian priests, and not last but least would be what we know as government. Having an administrative system where we can organize, collect taxes. They didn't do it through a system of money, but they did it based on a system of valuables, where the administration of the king would go out and collect taxes, and the first portions of writing actually started from counting what was being traded or what was being collected by way of taxes, and then redistributed to the rest of the population.
Wow.
And
So
I
is that
won't
is
get
that
it.
that's when the Bible says give Caesar what we owe Caesar and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna leave that one alone per se, right? Yes, out of fairness to what you said, the Greeks and the Romans collected taxes from other neighboring countries and civilizations to redistribute the wealth from the aristocracy or the noble families and back to the population, and more importantly to the military.
Oh, okay.
Now,
All right.
while you're doing that, I'm gonna get ready to queue up the. I found it here. I'm gonna queue up some stuff on Ma'at, but I do want to come back to language, and you let me know how you want to handle it.
You listen. We're here. You do you.
Yeah. So
You are free. This is your platform right now. I'm just presenting the space.
okay. So when one of the things that we've lost, and we we have a sense of loss, and I'm talking about African people,
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
diaspora, and I mean throughout the world, not just in the United States, but even in Africa. And
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes.
in Africa is rediscovering itself and dusting off things. But one of the things that we lost, during the transatlantic slave trade which weakened Africa to this very day, is when we were dispersed throughout the nations of the world, we lost our culture. So,
We did.
how do we define culture? Well, when we look
Oh, what? That's
at
a beautiful question.
folks like in India or China or other countries, right?
It's so funny you say that because I was just watching a clip of Muhammad Ali when he was doing an interview and a man called us Negroes and he was like, call us blacks, and he was like, well, why? He was like, well, every country their people are named after every Indians are named after India
Right.
and Africans are named after Africa. So like we don't, who do we identify with?
Who do we identify with? And you know, and, we as African people identify with a continent instead of the tribe that we come from,
Right,
right?
right.
Or the nation, that we come from, right? And so, but how do we identify what is culture? I hear a lot of people talk about the culture, the culture, the culture, right? Well, the
You checked me
the
when I said that. I love
there
that.
are many cultures, and this is not a dig at anyone, but I'm just informing the people
Yeah.
that culture is defined by the way you dress, right? Asian or Chinese or Japanese garb or Indian garb or Native American garb based on what they wear, right? That's one of the hallmarks of culture. Another hallmark of culture is music, right? Um, you know, when you hear Middle Eastern music, it's Middle Eastern music, even though you don't
Yes.
understand the language.
Same with Mexican music versus Spanish music. Like I can tell Puerto Rican music different than Mexican music. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And then, one of the most important aspects, and I want to give a big shout out to the Temple of Anu in Newark, but the Nasut Biti in chief priest there talked yesterday just about, what having rituals, right? Having rituals and what it repairs, in your life. And I want to remind the viewers that I'm not talking about religion per se or
Right.
religion at all. But, we have rituals, whether your ritual in the morning is, I put my socks on, then I put my underwear on, then I put my t-shirt on. That could be a ritual, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
the rituals that I'm talking about are things like we invented Kwanzaa, for example, right? That is a ritual that is based on the gathering of the first fruits of harvest, right?
Right.
But we had rituals or celebrations or particular ways of doing things as a reminder of things, and just practicing these things over and over would give us some sense of ease and comfort. But it's one of the things that distinguishes one group of individuals versus another group of individuals, which are, different types of culture. And even in Africa, there are many different types of cultures, right?
Yes. Many,
And
many, many, many.
Nile Valley cultures are often different than some of the West Africans or South African or North African cultures. But I want to get to the most important aspect of culture. And hopefully it doesn't blow the doors off, to people. But language, right? Being able to speak in our own tongue. It could be our ancestral tongue, native tongue, or tongue that we make up or repair, so that we can communicate with one another. But the important thing about language is that the actual culture of the language is embedded. I mean, the actual culture is embedded in the language. And I'll give you an example, right?
Oh, please
So
do.
everybody likes the term to call, our women queen, right? But in ancient Egypt, they would refer to the wife of the king as the waret. The hemet, the hemet nasut waret. Hemet means wife, right? Nasut means royal, right? And waret means great or mighty. So when we referred to the wife of the king, not the queen, I don't use the term queen, we referred to her as the great royal wife. But this is where it touches culture. The sign, glyph, or symbol that they used for wife was the symbol of a well of water. Now, think of how deep that is. You got to really get into it, right?
Yeah.
The
Well,
symbol for the wife is the well of water. So I ask you, Kyseé, and I ask the viewers, how valuable would a deep well of water be in a desert culture?
oh, hunting, very, 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 very needing and plentiful. I mean, not we would. It would be plentiful to the culture.
But you couldn't survive without. So what you
Absolutely. We are the ones that keep the lights on.
right? So the great royal wife represents life itself, right? And so you would never get the meaning of how valuable the wife is by just calling her queen, right? Because we don't understand these terms that we use.
Is
And
this really part of the culture?
yeah, and this is why the language of a people is so important, because you don't get it in translation. You actually have to speak languages like the Medu Necher, which is considered a dead language today. It just means that it's not spoken, right? It's not spoken today. But guess what? Did you know that Hebrew was a dead language?
Oh, really?
Absolutely. And it
Oh,
wasn't.
wow. No, I didn't know that because I mean, I've always heard Hebrew.
Yeah, we could have a whole separate show on that. But it was a dead language. It wasn't spoken anymore. And the Hebrew or Jewish people got together and said, "Well, this is the alphabet. We're going to align and agree on the sound of the alphabet, and going forward, we're going to start to use these words in our household again, right? Which is a beautiful thing, right?
A beautiful
So
thing. A
something
beautiful thing.
that has, I'll say, sunsetted. I won't say died. Sunsetted can be resurrected, which is an ancient Egyptian construct. Whatever sets can rise.
Amen. Wait, I think I need a little bit of cheering. I need a little bit of cheering, a little bit of clapping. I think.
Yeah, but writing is, one of those, it's a technology.
Go ahead. I was clapping.
Oh, I didn't hear it. But
You
anyway.
did?
No, I did not hear it. Not like last night.
Oh. Well, we're actually live now, so that's why you need your headphones.
Oh, okay. That's okay. But, so going back to writing, again, with the Medu Necher, when you look at the Medu Necher, the words mean divine speech. But if you look at the glyphs, the symbols that they use to convey divine speech, is one of the symbols that they use is a walking stick.
Oh, wow.
So who uses a walking stick in society?
Older people.
The elders,
Yep.
right? So it's not just the speech is speech. This is wise speech, right? This is wise speech that comes from the divine. And when we talk about technology, we talk about the greatest inventions of humans, writing is arguably one of the most important. Outside of making fire, right? And knowing how to clean water and stuff like that. But communication, speech that is memorialized through a set of symbols to convey ideas. So if I wrote something on a piece of paper and I told someone to run, 1,000 miles through a number of villages, right? And give the message to the king, right? The king would know what I was thinking or trying to tell them through writing.
Right.
And now we use cell phones to help, communicate ideas of thought, and we use social media. But the oldest form of doing that communication was writing.
True.
And I didn't put it up on the slide, but one of the greatest gifts that Africa has given to the world is even the gift of speech.
I love that.
And we
I
can do
just
a
feel like
whole
the
thing
law-
on that. But
I feel
speech.
like it all starts with us.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay. We can't wallow in it, but we do have to recognize it.
Listen,
And
I
so,
have no problem recognizing it. It's not us that's the problem. No, I don't even think we have a problem recognizing it. I just think that we don't even know. Like again, if we're not even willing to find out where we come from, because like I said, if you leave it to the school, I thought our history started with slavery. Until I
yeah,
learned better.
and I know like one of the
My parents weren't like that. My parents were not. They were love and happiness and kumbaya. We're not going to talk about anything that was going to ruffle feathers and make stuff mean.
but we just have to. This is just history, right? There's no hate. I don't hate anybody, right?
No,
Unless
but
you've
when
done
I
something
learned
to me
about
personally. But
when I learned when I learned about the history of Black people, it was all Jim Crow. That was all hate.
it was hate. It was hate. It created a system of disadvantages for us, right?
But I mean, as a kid, finding
As a
out
kid,
about
yeah.
but I didn't know about disadvantages. The only thing that I took from the Jim Crow situation was white people did not like Black people, and I
Yeah.
was very confused coming from a house where it was a melting pot of every kind of race. So I was
Yeah.
very confused. That's what I'm saying. Like it starts from home. It starts here. We gotta let our people know. We gotta let our children know.
Yeah, we are not slaves, and I even say we're not even descendants of slaves, right? We
No,
are
we're not. No,
descendants of
that's not. You're absolutely right.
we are descendants of people who were stolen and enslaved and meant to work for free to build a wealth class in
Hold
this
on.
country
I gotta clap for that.
based on free
We are
labor.
descendants of people who were stolen.
Stolen
Remember that.
and made to work for free.
Did you see that post I made about I want to share this real fast here. I like to do this.
And while you're doing that, I just want to kind of get something else out there, right?
Go ahead and get some. Go ahead and look for what it is. I
So,
want to post this.
you know, the way that it's distorted in current textbooks, even, this is the part that needs to be thrown out. They call it involuntary migration now. It wasn't involuntary. Yeah, it was involuntary, but it
It
wasn't a
wasn't
migration.
voluntary. It wasn't. But listen,
It
call it.
wasn't voluntary.
Let's not try and dress it up though.
No, that's
Let's
what I'm
not
saying.
try and dress it up.
Yeah, that's not accurate.
Because when you say
That's not an
involuntary
accurate
manslaughter, you didn't mean to kill somebody. You meant to take us from where we came from. You meant to take us. Like it was involuntary or not. Like please, you moved us. You stole us.
Yeah,
What's
so
that?
that's how the education.
Theft by taking. That's what that. We are
That
descendants
was
of theft by taking.
Yeah. If you take someone against their will today, you go to jail,
Yeah.
right?
Where's that?
So
Where's that?
we can't soften it up. History is history, right?
Oh,
There's ways to
right
make
here.
amends to that history, but we have been impacted, and we suffer a sense of loss
We do.
as a result.
Wait, really, really fast. I want to play this. I want to play this. Wait a minute, this lady. Because this is what a lot of white people think.
What example, how would you feel if white people held an event every year on the coast, the South Coast, Gulf Coast, and we called it White Beach Weekend? And black people weren't allowed to attend this event. Girl, we wouldn't give a llama's left coochie lip if you and every other white person in white America gathered together today on the nearest beach eating potato salad with raisins in it and dancing offbeat to the Beach Boys. But I do have a question for you, Joy. How would you and all of those white people feel if we as black people came to that very same beach that y'all were having White Beach Wednesday or whatever you just said, and we stole you?
And we stole you.
And we drug you across an ocean to an entirely new continent and made you build a country after stealing everything from you, and then we offered you nothing in return for your services. How would you all feel, Joy? Every single time I hear something like this fly out of a white person's mouth, it just goes to show that you are more of an enemy than an ally. Because what about Black History Month makes you so upset? Joy, do you not understand that we were enslaved for hundreds of years? We were stolen, beaten, raped, murdered, and given absolutely nothing in return after building this country.
Hallelujah.
And so because we take 1 month out of the year and we desire to celebrate ourselves, it makes you upset? And who in the hell told you in that partially crossed eye that white people could not participate in Black History Month?
That last part was irrelevant, but we were stolen. People love to leave that out.
Do you know what they call that in law enforcement today?
Kidnapping. Well, no.
Trafficking.
Human trafficking.
It's called human trafficking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't try and dress us up involuntary. No, we were stolen.
Yeah.
We were stolen in this place. That's not where we from. And then go back to where we come. I'm from here. I don't know anything. I don't even know if I go to Africa right now. I gotta find out everything. I don't know where to stay. I don't know where to go. I don't know where my people are. What?
And so I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about, I think it's the right time, given what you just said, is the psychology that emanated from being taken away from our home, and brought to a new land where we didn't know anyone. And we didn't even, there was so many different languages spoken in Africa, even on the West Coast, that when we were brought to the Americas during the transatlantic slave trade, we couldn't even communicate with one another because we didn't speak the same languages, right?
Yo, it just breaks my heart. Just the thought.
Yeah. So going back to the pre-colonial, right? When we focus on not just the lost part of our history, right? Because slavery is the part that is where we experience the sense of loss, but it affects our psychology because we don't understand origin. Just the same way someone who's adopted, right? And they don't
the same
know.
way for our trolls. Our trolls right here. Our troll, he hasn't said a word because probably he has learned something.
I'm not focused on them, right?
No. I'm saying this to say a lot of white people have something to say because they don't know. Like he said something earlier, we were given the same rights. No, we weren't. But they don't know that because the history that's put out there makes us look like lazy people.
Yeah, well,
that's what's been ingrained for them. They don't know.
Yeah, they don't understand their own history, right? That's that problem, right?
Well, no, I mean they heard the same history that we heard, that white men are strong and gods and they fix everything and they control everything when realistically they're thieves and liars and killers and murderers and child molesters. Okay.
But we, as a result of all of that, which you just mentioned, right? We experience a sense of loss, just like a child would, that is taken from his parents. And
absolutely,
a child who even grows up to an adult or someone who, in their senior years, if you were never fortunate to meet your mother and know who your mother and father were, you're going to experience a sense of loss and not belonging, right? And so,
oh my God, amen.
We need to close that void that we have in our hearts and our mind by learning about our mothers and fathers, right? I encourage people to get your DNA test, right? Find out where you come from, you know? And the thing is, we were forced to become an African melting pot of different languages, cultures, right? And identities where we had to create, I call it a new, right? We had to create a new culture, right? And part of what we do
That's true.
today
That's true. We did. That's true.
is a legacy from what we had to create because of what was taken from us. But we have enough technology, we have enough access to information where if we still have that innate curiosity to know, to want to know where we came from and who we are, get a DNA test is a great idea, right? And start to learn about those countries that we were stolen from and what cultures and languages are spoken there. And as soon as you start to relearn, remember, right? Because our member was taken from us, right?
Oh,
So
yes,
we have to
yes.
be remembered and understand, our origin and our history prior to that transatlantic slave trade, which we call the Ma'afa. The Ma'afa is the Great Destruction. And it wasn't just the great destruction of the people who made it to the Caribbean, South America, Europe and America, but it was also the people that were left behind because these civilizations were destroyed, by allowing, religious systems, foreign religious systems of Europe to come into Africa and developing trade with us, admiring our stuff, to just saying, you know what? Let's just take it. It's,
Oh,
manifest destiny. The Pope said, if you're a non-Christian country, you can take whatever, you can kill whoever. That was an official charter by the head of the Christian state at the time to go out and marauder and kill and maim and steal and develop wealth, more importantly, from it.
oh, that's well, yeah. That's so. It's so sad, but so enlightening. Look, somebody over here is saying true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what some of our guests are saying. That's a lot. That's a lot of people are here watching. They want to hear what you have to say. I love it. We have 1.5 likes over here
Yeah.
on TikTok.
Okay.
So,
So one of
okay.
the things that I want to do, because I don't want to end, I never like to end on sour notes, right?
No,
Is
yeah.
what do we
Listen,
do?
we've only gotten through one of our questions. We already, and I know we already knew this was going to do this. So we definitely need to make this into a series.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we can even come back later on and keep doing this.
But
Like,
I before we get off of this jack, right? I want to talk about restoration, right? How do we restore, the effects of what has happened to us, right?
yeah, because that's what people don't know how to heal. People don't know how to heal.
Yeah,
People know
and
how to be bitter, and they know how to they don't know how to heal.
yeah. So part of that restoration, and now I want to get to that picture you asked about, right? One of the beautiful things that came from the Nile Valley is this concept called Ma'at. I don't know if the viewers can put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar or if you've heard the system of Ma'at,
Has
right?
anybody on either one of the platforms heard of Mahat?
Ma'at.
Mahat, Mahat,
No,
right?
Maat.
Maat.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up for you to help, okay? Just give me a second here. We're going to tee it
No,
up.
we don't have anybody. Nobody's saying anything just yet.
Yeah, this is, so,
This
oh, I got to hit this button, right? Share. I'm going to hit share this for you, Kyseé.
Who said?
Okay, let's do this. And while you're doing that, I just want to kind of get. All right. Can you see my screen?
I can do speak, be my.
Right. You know. So I always say do. Right. It's an act. It's an action word. Right. But in addition to doing ma'at, speak ma'at. People need to know what ma'at is.
Right.
Right. And you know how we say, in the movie Malcolm X, I am Malcolm X. Right. We used to use terms like anejerak, ma'at, or nukpu ma'at. Nukpu means I am ma'at, or I am, nukpu heru. I am heru. But we would personify in ourselves, our divinities of nature, right? And ma'at is represented as a woman with wings and a ostrich feather upon her head. You can see that?
I can see that. Yes.
Right. And I want you to take notice of something, right? She's holding in her hand an ostrich feather, right? So I want the viewers to remember this part. Remember this ostrich feather and remember this jar, right? This comes from the ritual called the weighing of the heart. And I'll come back to that in a second. But did how do we describe angels in the Abrahamic religions? How do we talk about what they look like? What do they always have?
They always have them looking white.
No, but outside of that, I'm trying to give you a hint right here. They have wings, right? I can't see you, so you're gonna have to give me.
I'm sorry. I was trying to.
Yeah, but they have wings. So the African deities, oftentimes had wings, like Het Heru, the divine cow, or Aset, you know, divine mother, right? They
Okay.
in Ma'at, they had wings, but the Christians or the progenitors of Christianity took this concept, with them into their religious doctrine. And you know how we say sometimes, you talked about healing, right?
Yes.
We come with, Ma'at and, you know, um, African spirituality comes with healing in its wings as part of the restorative process. Right, here's another depiction of Ma'at, right? But from a linguistic perspective, and I've got this from Brother Asar Imhotep. Big shout out to Brother Asar Imhotep.
One
If
time.
you if you are interested, he's someone I learned from. But he focuses on linguistics, and he talks about the base of the word Ma'at coming from the word leg or tree trunk, foundation. Also something that is straight, narrow, correct, or correctness, or upright. And me and you were joking last night that let's say you're cutting up, right? And your grandmother walks into the room. And you know how we just straighten up, we're looking around, But that sense of being upright, a lot of times in righteousness, or the speak of righteousness, we talk about a person's character being upright. But Ma'at was something that was a foundation for how one was to go about living life. And
Okay.
it's the reason, it's one of the many reasons why the Egyptian civilization lasted for 4,000 years, right?
Right.
And so some of the principles, because this is really where it comes down to. I apologize if this is a little bit difficult to read, but some of the principles of Ma'at is truth, right? to be honest in your dealings with people. Be straight or true.
Right.
A lot of times, like if you're a carpenter and you say that my cut is true, that it means that it's straight, right? It doesn't have a flaw in it, right? One of the other principles is order. And, order means, putting things in a proper place.
Right. You need order. You need order for proper, yeah.
Avoiding chaos and doing things the right way, not the wrong way, right? And what happens when you don't have order, right? You need what we call a justice system or justice, right?
Right.
And this is really to bring disorder back into order. If you harm someone in our society, right, you've committed a crime, and we have a law enforcement system that says you broke a law, right? And then we have a justice system that prosecutes and gives you a penalty, or
For breaking the law.
they reckon, how you need to be admonished or dealt with based on breaking a rule or law, right? And, be fair in your dealings. That's
Right.
also justice. One of the other principles is righteousness. My dad used to say, just do the right thing, right?
Just do the right thing.
Just
for
do
real.
what's
Be,
right.
be true. That's it. It's so much easier. It makes it easier later on.
Right. And then, this one is probably one of the most powerful ones, principles, is reciprocity. And reciprocity means to treat others the way you want to be treated.
Be treated.
Right?
I
It doesn't
love-
mean, just to be clear, it does not mean I'm going to treat you the way you treated me.
No.
It's the opposite.
Absolutely
Right?
not.
And imagine that, Kyseé.
Because you can't do. Sometimes you just can't match certain energies, and I'm not matching your petty energy. I
Right.
want to put out here how I want you to treat me. That's
Yeah,
it.
we have to be an example, right?
Absolutely.
So imagine how much foolishness would be eliminated if everyone treated everyone else the way they want to be treated. Right?
That's true. That's true.
Right? And then
That's
then you actually, if you practice those 5 principles, you actually inherit the last 2.
Which is
you
harmony.
get harmony
and balance.
and balance in your life.
I love
Right?
that. I love that.
You're on the same page of wavelength, right? You don't overdo
Vibrating that
things.
frequency. Vibrating that frequency. Vibrating high. I love that. So wait a minute. So
go ahead.
I want to go ahead and pause on that note, just because it's a lot going on over here. And
Do we have
are-
disorder over there?
Yeah, we have disorder over here. So I have to
Unbalance?
Yes. So I had to go bring it back. And we're
Disharmony?
right at an hour. But I want to come back later on.
Yeah.
I want to come back. What I want to do is chop this up, make some magic notes of this, put it out there for people to see, and then come back later on and talk to us this evening. You want to come back like for happy hour?
Yeah, as long as I'm not too happy.
So what time is a good time I want to come back? 'Cause I'm going to make a whole event. So what? We're about 6, 7 tonight. I want to make a whole event and invite people.
Well, you can.
Yeah, I can. I'm doing it from Facebook.
Yeah.
So tell me what's good, and then I'm gonna make that, and then I'll let the people know here too. What time is gonna be good for you? Because listen, guys, we can do this all day. I mean,
I can
I'm at
definitely
home.
do this all day.
All right, so how about I go handle what I got going on? I'm gonna make the event, and we're gonna come back.
Okay.
You don't even have to leave. You can stay here for a second, Nas. I'm gonna end it. You can stay. I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end things here.
All right.
I'm gonna stop this. So guys,
I just wanted to let you know, because you challenged me, right? That you asked me for the picture, right?
Oh, well, we're gonna come back to that though.
Okay,
I
so
want
we'll
you.
come
This is where
back
we're
to
gonna
this.
pause. This
Okay.
is where we're gonna restart right here,
Excellent.
right now. So right now, guys. So also, because I want to share, I want to go ahead and share the link on TikTok and on Instagram, so you guys can come over here and can see what his visuals are doing. Because I hate that you can't see it in the moment. So you're gonna have to wait for me. I'm gonna upload it here, but you're gonna have to wait unless you do it in a moment, you can't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here, make some magic clips, and we're going to come back in a couple hours because, like I said, I'm over here healing. I had part 2 done, and Nas is over here. He's being his best, living his best life, being an entrepreneur, working from home. So, guys, thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about an hour or 2. All right. So we're going to stop this. All right, guys. Thank you, Instagram.